that. Whee! Someone stop me. Hi friends, it's Jordan and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be telling you all about the next 5 books that I read in 2022. We've already talked about the first 5 books that I read this year and I finally finished 5 more, so I figured now is the perfect time for me to tell you about the next 5 books that I've read this year. I feel that this is a conversation we have every time I do one of these videos. I don't like anything anymore. I don't. Just for like a little update. That's partly why I don't record as many videos as I used to, or why I don't make as much content as I used to, or whatever. It's because I'm not reading like anything that I like. So it's hard for me to make content or be inspired to make content when I'm not reading things that I'm enjoying. They're taking me a long time to read because I'm not enjoying them. I don't really know what my tastes and my style for books is anymore. I don't know. I don't know. So it's hard for me to get excited about filming and making content and posting content when all the content I'm posting is about things I don't like. A lot of negativity, and I just not interested in the negativity. So I don't really post or talk about what I read because most of the time I'm not enjoying what I'm reading. So I don't like anything. I don't know. I should make this channel about TV because I've consumed so much TV and I've been really enjoying a lot of TV, and that's been fine. I've been thriving with that, but like books, not so much. So let's just go ahead and get right into it, shall we? As always, I'm like sitting here thinking, what side of the screen do I need to shift over to? I think it's this side. The next book that I read in 2022 was The Guest List by Lucy Foley. The Guest List by Lucy Foley. So this is a pretty popular, pretty well-known murder mystery, adult murder mystery novel. We are following this guest list of people who are invited to this very secluded wedding. Well, it's a very secluded island for a wedding. The island is secluded, the wedding is on the secluded island. The people are going to the wedding on the secluded island. I don't know why that was like so hard for me to get out. And we're following a large cast of characters as implied by the guest list. And we know that there's been a crime that's happened at the beginning of the novel, but we don't know what the crime was or who committed it. So we're kind of working in reverse up to that point. We're learning a little bit about each character and like the flashbacks of each character and how they have come to this island, how they know the bride and groom, how they've wound up at this wedding. But we're also following the timeline of the wedding, and so it's counting down to the moment when somebody committed some kind of crime, and we're learning so many secrets and lies along the way. This is a UK murder mystery, and I guess I never really pay attention to or thought much about how UK murder mysteries differ from American murder mysteries, but I've heard this conversation on YouTube in the past, especially a lot more recently, and I'm starting to wonder if I also fall into this trope of where I prefer American murder mysteries as opposed to UK murder mysteries. I don't know what it is about the style in which they write them, but it just doesn't feel like I like any of them, regardless of the author. I've read some from Gillian Macmillan, Ruth Ware. I think those are both. Gillian Macmillan might be US, but Ruth Ware is UK. I've read this one, I've read a few others, and I just don't ever feel like I'm as drawn to them or as engrossed or entertained by them. A very specific feeling to them that I just don't super jive with, and this is another one. I felt pretty average, middle of the road for me. Like, I've read things, I don't know, I feel like I'm the person who's like, more murder, more torture, more kidnapping, more violence, please. And the UK murders just don't rely on that trope, probably because they're not US. That would make sense. We are so desensitized to that stuff here. Maybe that's the problem. Do anything to like blow me away or like deeply offend me or like super wow me. I don't feel like one way or the other towards this book. It is a book that I've read, and that is about how I feel about it. I did think the twists and the turns were unexpected and fun. I didn't see most of them coming, and it managed to surprise me relatively well. This doesn't matter for a whole lot of people, but for me, there were too many unlikable characters. There was nobody to root for, and I know people like that in books. I don't think I do. I don't think I like a large cast of very unreliable, rude, mean, nasty people. Like I don't think I like it. There was also a dash of fat phobia thrown in there, and then I did have a really hard time getting into this novel. I felt like the beginning portion was super slow and super like drawn out and hard to get into, but that by the time that we got to the reveals and stuff, the punch was just not packed for me. Like there was just, the wind-up had been dismissed. I didn't feel the effort anymore because it just took me so long to read at the beginning of this book. In the end, I gave it a 3 out of 5 stars. So the next book that I read this year was The King of Crows by Lee. Okay, it's gonna be one of the, what is in my book? Oh, mail. It's a good place to put that, Mom. Definitely would have found it in there, for sure. The next book that I read was The King of Crows by Libba Bray. This is the 4th and final installment in the Diviner series, which has been going on forever. It was a very, very long series. And now that there were a lot of books in the series, it just took a lot of years to write the books in the series. I still think that the first installment is my favorite in the series. I feel like with each subsequent book, it's lost a little bit more of its magic. More of the mystery is explained and more of the horror is dissipated. It like starts out not horror, but fairly horror for YA. And then the more that's explained and the more we learn about what's going on, it loses its spark. It loses what makes it special and unique and different and becomes a little bit more conventional, a little bit more science fiction. A fantastic cast of characters here that I love. It's been so much fun to watch them grow and become like such different versions of themselves. That I've really enjoyed. I really missed the spooky vibes of the first book and even the second book. There were just, especially the audiobooks, there were such creepy like songs and like haunting voices and just very unsettling things that the narrator would do that by this point, all that stuff's been explained more or less, or is in the process of being explained, that you don't feel that horror anymore, or those spooky vibes anymore. There's a lot of discussion on the American dream of the 1920s though, and the discrimination that many, many minority groups were experiencing during that time. So that is fascinating to see woven into a science fiction horror story, like what people were enduring and going through and the realities of America in the 1920s, because I think it's a very glorified era. People really look back on that as being this like perfect, not utopian, but like this perfect version of America history where it's like the flappers and all this fun Gilded Age, but in reality a lot of people were struggling very hard during that time, and this book definitely discusses that in a very interesting way. There's also a lot of LGBT representation in this novel and a lot of disability representation, and that was hard to say. And there's also several minority characters, people of color characters, so much in this book. She really included a little bit of everything that made the melting pot of the 1920s so that you could really feel immersed in the story. I never even told you what this book was about, but I don't know if I have to, because I feel like this has been on BookTube for so long and the story has changed so much since the first book that I don't even know how the first book used to be pitched. Let me think. You're following our main character Evie, who is growing up in Ohio in the 1920s, and she may or may not have supernatural abilities. She also might be going crazy. So her mom ships her off to New York after an incident in her hometown that is just blasphemous. So she goes to stay with her uncle in New York at this museum of the creepy crawlies. While she's there, she meets a lot of other people in New York who might have powers similar to hers and might all be part of a grander plan. I don't know how to incorporate the villain into that, but that I think could be a good summary of the first book. It grows a lot from there, and I did enjoy it. Like I would reread this. I would recommend it to people still. It just wasn't as like fulfilling as an ending as I would have hoped it to be if I was still back in book 1. But now that I know like what to expect from the series and like where it's going and like how to pitch it to people to make it like an accurate expectation for them, I would still recommend it. even if I only gave it a 3 out of 5 stars. Okay, so the next book that I read was Jade City by Fonda Lee. This was a book club pick. I think this was from March. This was not it, guys. This was not the deal. We had been hyped up quite heavily for this one, and it failed in every aspect of what I was hoping for it to do. I don't even remember what this book was about. It's a very hard book for me to get through. I remember finishing it and like having the live show and thinking, yeah, I might read the sequel. For sure not gonna read the sequel. I would have to reread the first book. I don't really remember any of the characters' names. It's adult fantasy, science fiction fantasy, kind of like a blend of the two. It definitely doesn't take place in our world. I got nothing. And to think I was considering reading the sequel. It's a Godfather-esque saga of intergenerational blood feuds, vicious politics, magic, and kung fu. The Call family is one of the 2 crime syndicates that control the island of Kikon. It's the only place in the world that produces rare magical jade, which grants those, with the right training heritage, superhuman abilities. That's right, the Greenbone clans of honorable jade-wearing warriors once protected the island from foreign invasion, but nowadays in a bustling post-war metropolis full of fast cars and foreign money, okay, yes, it's coming back to me. Greenbone families like the Calls are primarily involved in commerce, construction, and the everyday upkeep of the districts under their protection. That jogs some memories, still would not recommend. I'm just going to point you to our live show if you're interested in learning more about this book. I cannot accurately pitch this to you. I cannot tell you my feelings. It's been washed from my mind. I have 0 feelings or opinions on this book. I gave it a 2 out of 5 stars. Next book I read was like such a fun little like silly read that I just wanted to try to see if it would help get me out of my reading slump, and it did not. I would say I'm in a reading slump, and I have been since fall of 2020. So the next book I read was Conceal Don't Feel, which is a Disney's, and I can't speak either, which is a Disney Twisted Tale by Jen Kalanita. Obviously, based on the title and the cover, this is a Frozen reimagining, retelling. I don't know if it's really like a reimagining so much because it is the exact same characters. We are following Anna and Elsa and all of their characters from the movie. It's just like, what would happen if one central plot point of the movie was different? So in this book, it's like, what if they didn't know they were sisters? What if they were separated as very young children or at birth? How would they be different if they grew up with separate lives? It was really fun. Like, I really enjoyed it. I would definitely recommend this to anybody who is like a super hardcore Disney fan. I would read more of these in the future, I think. It was very comfy and cozy, and it was a very familiar reading experience because so many lines and plot points are pulled directly from the movie, like direct wording from the movie. They reference the songs in the book. They don't sing the songs, but they definitely are like an insert musical montage here. I wasn't mad about it, but you could tell it was happening. It's a good, fun, comfort read. It felt funny to rate because I felt like I was rating a Disney movie, and I just feel like there's so many other things to take into consideration when rating that compared to like a book that I would read that's not like a Disney retelling. But I enjoyed this, and I would read other ones. I don't know that this is a for everybody kind of thing. It's fun if you like Disney. It's fun if you like Frozen. If you want to see like an alternate reality of your favorite characters, I liked it. I gave it a 3 stars. Okay, and the last book that we're going to talk about today is A Vow So Bold and Deadly by Bridget Kemmerer. This is the final book in the Curse Breakers trilogy, I believe. Yes. One of my all-time favorite trilogies. I wish I would have read this closer to when I finished the second book. I think I read the second book like earlier in the year, and this came out like that fall. I kind of fell out of the story a little bit too much, and I didn't fall back into the story as much as I would have liked to, but I still like adore the series. The first book is The Curse So Dark and Lonely, and it is a Beauty and the Beast retelling. I would say that we start to get away from any kind of retellings in the second and third book, but the first book is definitely a Beauty and the Beast retelling. She witnesses an assault on the street one day and intervenes, and in the process, she ends up being the one abducted instead of the girl that he was originally assaulting, this like mysterious man. And when she's abducted, she's not just like taken to a warehouse, she's taken to Not that that would be a good alternative. I think I'd rather this happen to me, honestly. She's not taken to a warehouse, but she is taken to another reality where she is literally their last chance at saving their kingdom from this giant beast monster thing that ravages them every year. And Harper's just really not interested. I did think that the ending was satisfying. I would read more in this world. I would read more urban fantasy from her. 4 out of 5 stars. That was the most successful one of this batch. Should I just finish the rest of the video like this so I can't see my hair, I can't touch my sweatshirt? Is this what I should have done the whole video? Would this have been better? I feel like Little Red Riding Hood or a Jedi, maybe the Sith. Thank you guys so much for watching. I think we've devolved past any other conversations that we can have. I'm clearly having a moment today. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you want to follow me anywhere else, my Instagram and Twitter handles are on the screen now. Please come be my friend elsewhere on the interwebs. Thank you so much for watching. Until next time, I'll talk to you very soon. Bye!